very important that whoever you decide to serve you, because that's going to be my job, is to serve you. And whoever you decide is best equipped to serve you on March 3rd for this position on the Arkansas Court of Appeals needs to have a vast amount of experience. They need to have knowledge both as an attorney and not just a theorist attorney, not just an attorney who's researched issues and wrote briefs on it. I'm talking about a lawyer who's tried cases. And you want a judge who's actually heard cases. And I fulfill both of those in this race. And so I'm here today, thank you, Galen, again. I'm here today to ask for your vote. I'm here today to ask for your consideration on March the 3rd, because this is a very big deal. And a lot of people say to me on the campaign trail, they're like, Emily, I don't even know what the Court of Appeals does. Well, I've answered all of those questions for you right here. I've told you the kinds of cases that they hear. And I've also had a lot of people say to me, well, I don't know that that really matters for me. Would I ever have a case that goes to the Court of Appeals? Probably not, Ms. Janet. But that doesn't mean that you don't want someone in that position who is equipped to handle the caseload that's coming to that position. Because goodness gracious, should you ever find yourself, Jim, in the middle of a situation or at the circuit court level a case is tried and you don't like the outcome and you appeal that to the Court of Appeals, we want judges in those positions who are equipped to handle those type of cases. And I believe that I can best serve you on that court. Thank you so much for gathering together. Thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. I'm just a kid from Poland, and so to be here and to see all of this, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to every one of you. Thank you.
Also, with the judicial elections, I don't think she's allowed to ask for money. So if you do like what you hear, feel free to leave a check out there out front, grab an envelope. Also, I want to say thanks to Representative Bruce Cozart. I want to recognize him. Celia Dyer, who's running for district court also. Lauren Nobles, who lives down the street, running for state representative. Hopefully will be representing us here in another 11 months. JP Matt McKee, who's also the Republican Party chairman in the county. Once again, thank everyone for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You bet, Dr. Jack, you bet.
Every other day when I pick up the newspaper, the name Wendell Griffin or something like that comes up.
Yes.
The judge that laid down about death penalty cases, and were you one of the people that looked into whether or not what he did was ethical?
I was, Dr. Jack, but I had to recuse from that case, and let me tell you why. The day that Wendell did that was April the 10th, 2017. My husband had bladder surgery that day, and I remember it as if it was yesterday. We were at home. I just got him home from the hospital, and my phone began to blow up. People across the state sending me photographs of Wendell Griffin, who's a circuit court judge in Pulaski County, laying prostrate in front of the governor's mansion on a cot. And I don't know if you all remember that or not, but our Supreme Court was entertaining appellate issues with regard to several death penalty cases at that point in time. And so my boss, who was David Sacker at the commission, and I began to text back and forth. And over that weekend, Dr. Jack, we had received communication from our Arkansas Supreme Court. Because you see, the Judicial Discipline and Disability Commission is not a Supreme Court committee. It is its own constitutionally created committee. We are not beholden, or I say we, that agency is not beholden to the Arkansas Supreme Court. They don't answer to that court. They are not beholden to the governor. They are its own agency. And so when we began to receive communication from the Supreme Court, and it was nothing improper, it was just, are you aware of this? Are you aware of this? And that's actually very common for them to say, are you aware of this? They could actually refer a case to the JDDC and say, we find there may be some ethical misconduct here. We're ordering the JDDC to look into this. So there's always open lines of communication between the JDDC and the Supreme Court. But this particular evening, we received a lot of information, as you can imagine, because Wendell Griffin was hearing homicide cases in Pulaski County. And so the court begins to send communication to us almost immediately, some members of the court. And David and I both had to recuse, and we did it very quickly. But I did a certain amount of looking into the allegations before we actually had to recuse. So I am very familiar with it, but I did not resolve it, Dr. Jack, because it did not resolve until actually I was appointed to the bench and had left the commission. And then it handled itself. And in some opinions, not the way that the commission would have wanted it to go necessarily, but it did resolve itself, so. Are you all familiar with that?
Yes.
Yes. Reggie, question? Yes, yes.
I got the honor of him coming to my committee and speaking against us teaching the Bible in our classrooms. And
Any other questions? Right.
I know your campaign is strictly about you and not your opponent, but I asked your opponent on her Facebook page a question. May I relate that?
Sure.
I asked her opinion of red flag laws. And her response, which is still on her Facebook page, her campaign Facebook page, was that she defends the rights given to us by the Constitution. Are our rights given to us by the Constitution or by God?
No, they're not given to us by the Constitution. The Constitution is a buffer to protect the rights that are given to us by God. And that's what it's for. It's a buffer to keep those God-given rights from being taken away from us.
Exactly.
It's not vice versa. That's my opinion.
Exactly.
Now, we as judges take an oath, right? I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to read the oath that judges take.
I have not.
But we take an oath, and it's very specific. And that oath is to uphold the very language of that Constitution, both at the federal level and at the state level. And it's very specific. And that's an oath that I believe in.
Her response surprised me immensely, and it's still on her campaign Facebook page if y'all want to take a look. Second question related to what you just said. We here in Arkansas, along with the other 49 states and those of us under the federal government, all live under regulators, unelected officials that are writing regulations that impact our life. Here in Arkansas, without specifically speaking to a particular item, what is the recourse for us if there are regulations that are written that are that are a violation of our Constitution?
Depends on the nature of the regulation, right? I'll speak about game and fish if that's what you want me to do. That's just an area of regulation that I deal with regularly as a judge. I'll talk to you about game and fish regulations. Of course, those are handled in the same fashion as violations of our criminal law, but they're not criminal law. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
They're regulation violations, but they're prosecuted in the same fashion as a violation of our criminal code. There are avenues of recourse. Of course, those can be appealed, but there's not an administrative remedy for those. Because, for instance, when a game and fish officer gives a game and fish violation, those are treated like violations of criminal law, so they go through the criminal court system just like violations of our criminal code. So the avenue of recourse, if a person's dissatisfied with that, is they would pursue that regulation straight up to the Court of Appeals or to the circuit court first. If it's in district court and they don't like that, they would appeal it de novo to the circuit court. If they don't like that response, then of course they would appeal it to the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court, depending on the specificity of the issue.
Okay.
Now, I'm speaking hypothetically
Me
about
too.
the chain of the progress.
Me too. So my guess is that if something came to the appellate court that was a violation of the Arkansas Constitution, you would have an issue with that.
Now, your question needs a little bit of explanation.
Sure.
Okay, so it depends on what this is, and you see I'm a lawyer.
Okay.
So every word of your question in my
Oh, I understand.
mind,
I understand.
It depends on what
I don't want to
this
get
is.
specific because then
Yeah.
you can't speak about a specific.
No, I
Yeah.
can't. You're
Okay.
right.
I think I understand the answer though. I
Because
appreciate
you see,
that very much.
The Code of Judicial Conduct keeps judges and judicial candidates from making a pledge, a promise, or a commitment to rule in a certain fashion. But it does not keep judges or judicial candidates from talking about the law as it stands right now. And for the 5 years that I was at JDDC, I would have judges and judicial candidates call me and say, Emily, do you think I can answer a question about this? And my response was always, well, are you answering the question regarding the way the law is written right now, or the way you think the law should be, or the way you want the law to be? I said, what you can't do is, you can't make a pledge, a promise, or a commitment to rule in a certain way. But you can opine, or not opine, you can talk about the law as it's written right now. You absolutely can do that. Canon 3 of the Code of Judicial Conduct allows judges and judicial candidates to talk at length publicly about the law and the way that it is now. But what I can't do is say, I promise you that if this issue comes before me, Galen, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And we don't want that. You should not want a judge or a judicial candidate to do that. And here's why. One fact could change that outcome. You could have two DWI cases come to me on one day and they be very similar, but one fact be different in the case and the outcome could be totally different based on the one fact. So we don't want that, and that's a good thing. Yes, Reggie.
Regarding your judicial philosophy,
Yes.
who would you say you most closely identify with on the Supreme Court?
I've answered this question once before, and I don't know if it came from you, but it came from the Tea Party.
I wanted to hear it again.
So, and my response